In episode 1 of our homage to old Tom Morris, we met a steel worker who was inspired to teach the Morris legacy to the next generations of Scots.
Dear Mr. Lumsden, thank you for teaching us about Tom Morris's legacy.
William Lumsden introduced us to Sheila Walker.
Hi Sheila, how are you?
The great-great-granddaughter of old Tom Morris.
I have over 100 different types of plant in the garden.
And we met a St. Andrews historian who has written books about following the path of old Tom's impact on what is now commonly referred to as the home of golf. Time now for part 2 of our journey to priceless St. Andrews, presented by MasterCard. We start in Carnoustie, 25 miles from St. Andrews, which has deep roots into the annals of golf history and ties to old Tom the architect. Old Tom worked with his original mentor, Alan Robertson, to design the first 10 holes in the mid-1800s. Then old Tom came back and extended the layout to make 18. Meet Bill Thompson, former captain of the Carnoustie Golf Club, who's now responsible for the history and heritage of the club.
So my story, I played golf here for 30 odd years. Then I retired. The club hit some fairly hard times, and because of my business background, they asked if I could help come and have a look at what we can do. Then I stumbled across all the things I'd walked past for years. US Open medals, this medal, that medal. So we built this all from nothing.
Wow.
Reset it, invested quite a lot of money, so it was a big challenge.
Where does old Tom fit in? He's right here.
Yeah, he's there.
He's everywhere.
Yes, he's everywhere. He did a change to the course here.
He did.
1885. And the greenkeeper that worked with him, 2 greenkeepers, Dargy and Smith, John Smith, Alec's father.
Much like old Tom, it's hard not to be fascinated by Carnoustie's influence on golf.
There's the teaching tree.
Oh, cool.
So, go right back to day 1. The Simpson brothers came as the first golf professionals to Carnoustie. They then had a factory making clubs, so the boys were all trained as club makers. So Alec Smith, John Smith, all the Smiths. You can see all the people all the way through to the guys that are still alive today.
What an amazing thing to have put together this. Got to be proud of this.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Back to Sheila Walker, who, when we met, brought a better understanding of where she's from and what it means to be a member of golf's royal family.
Help me understand the family tree. So old Tom Morris.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. This is so good. Okay, okay,
So this is old Tom here.
okay.
This is him. Okay.
Yeah.
1908.
Yeah.
Okay. And he marries Agnes Spain. She was known as Nancy.
Wow.
So there's Thomas and Elizabeth, known as Lizzie.
Okay.
Okay. And James Ogilvy Fairley, known as Joff and John.
Okay.
So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I come down from Lizzie and James. My great-grandparents.
Okay, great-grandparents.
Great-grandparents,
Okay.
right? In 1935, my mother inherited the house and the shop and a 51% share directorship of Tom Morris Limited.
So your mother, was she a golfer?
Oh yeah, she was a very fine golfer.
Oh, great.
Oh yeah, she was very tall.
Okay.
She was about 5'10" and a half.
Okay,
Yeah.
which was very tall.
She was a model. That's young Tom.
Okay.
My mother looked it very, very like that.
Do you think your mother was also a lot like her grandfather?
Old Tom, I think, had the ability to sum up people in a few minutes, I would say.
Okay.
And she was exactly the same.
When do you remember having a sense or feeling like you were part of a family legacy that was far beyond just a family legacy?
I was at school at St Leonard's coming home. This was during an Open Championship, but this gate was across the road, and so I couldn't get home to my mother to have my lunch. And my uncle Willie Rusak stood there, and there was a man in a white coat, and he said, let this girl in. You've no idea who she is. Open this gate immediately and let her in. So this gate was opened and I was let in. So I think that brought it home to me that there was this huge importance about being related to old Tom.
More of our time with Mrs. Walker later, but also important is the fact that the culinary scene in Scotland is on a hot streak. And in St. Andrews, the seafood ristorante is leading the local charge to a post-COVID reality.
Seafood ristorante, what's the inspiration?
Being half Scottish, half Italian, I've always kind of had this Italian influence kind of growing up. So the ethos of the restaurant is the best Scottish seafood mixed in with a hint of Italian flair.
Included in a 150th open priceless experience the week of the tournament, one of the hospitality packages made available to MasterCard cardholders allows guests exclusive all-day access to the restaurant, which includes food, drinks, and dedicated gate access to and from the course without the wait.
When I say old Tom Morris to someone like yourself, do you have any thoughts on him?
I mean, it's the history. My dad used to call it the theme park for golfers. And like, it's generally true. It's like you'll have guys that travel all over the world for the history that's here. And I'm lucky enough, I just kind of have it on my doorstep. But it's like a kind of natural homage. Whenever you think of St. Andrews, you're almost thinking of him.
The playing of the 150th Open Championship, they're talking about over 250,000 people over 4 days here, 50,000 people a day. And they're going to be looking for something to eat. Hopefully I squeeze in on that little to old Tom Morris.
The 75 miles from St. Andrews to Muirfield takes a little over 2 hours, but it's well worth it when you get to play around with Lindsay Garden, the 18th female member of an old club that's adopting some forward thinking.
What's your handicap?
It's 1.
It's a 1. Great. How many strokes are you giving me?
Absolutely none.
What?
Come on, you don't need shots.
How much are we playing for?
Lunch.
Lunch. Love it.
And not unlike Carnoustie, Muirfield's original architect was old Tom Morris.
Good time to be a woman playing golf. I mean, it feels like the amount of opportunities and livelihood of being a professional golfer as a woman the time is now.
It is, yeah. You know, it's really competitive and it's a good living for them. And I go at the flag and just let it drift left a little bit, and then that makes it easier for coming in for your second shot. Perfect.
It's a magic piece of land, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Look at her. Look at her.
And he does. Gosh.
Oh,
great. 4.
Lindsay, what a treat. What
Thank
a treat.
you.
Oh
Thank
my
you.
God. I mean, I can't thank you enough.
No, not at all. It's been
Unbelievable.
great.
What a special day.
After the round, Garden treated us to a tour of the Clubhouse, which, for anyone passing through, is better described as a museum. She showed us a replica of the claret jug, the original oldest trophy in golf.
What a special thing to have here.
I know.
The original rules of golf, all 13 of them.
Your tee must be upon the ground.
And my favorite?
A Tom Morris golf ball. This is so special.
Around at Muirfield, host of this year's AIG Women's Open Championship, sponsored by MasterCard, should be celebrated. And so we did, with some Scotch whiskey at Lindores Abbey.
So this is the old stables. We built it out of the ruins of the Abbey.
So this is the Abbey.
Yeah, so this is the closest kind of representation of what we can put together, what the Abbey looked like.
And the Abbey was a place of worship.
Very much so. So it was formed by a group of monks called the Tyrannesians.
A lot of religion drives a lot of people to drink.
The history of booze in general, you don't have to go too far through most of it to discover that it was a religious order that started it. Somebody at some point experimented with building a still And in 1494, it's recorded the earliest production of a spirit that would become known as whiskey in Scotland ever. And we have that building outside.
Come on.
Experts came in and said, this is the site of a medieval still.
Oh, this is beautiful.
Yeah, it's the base of the original still that the monks are using here to produce their spirit in the Middle Ages. It went from being an interest to being a hobby to being a full-blown obsession to an extent.
Love it.
I get to take people around, show them the distillery, show them the whiskey, get them to try the whiskey. The history is fascinating.
That's check, check, check. Let's drink.
This was our first whiskey that was released last year, on the 2nd of July.
I love the bottles.
A lot of people do, I have to admit, and it's why we kind of hang on to them. All these ones you see at the top are all empty, but they just make such lovely decorative pieces that we just keep using them.
That is so good.
My personal prospect would always be a little water.
A little bit of water.
Whiskey is designed to be drunk with water, really, and you'll notice if you take this dram that you've got just now, I will just add a little splash of water to it, and then tell me what you think about the taste afterwards.
Oh my gosh. With the water, it is even better. To Old Tom Morris.
Absolutely.
Because why not?
More toasts to Old Tom in the next episode, which takes us to the Crail Golfing Society. We get more stories from Sheila Walker.
We do a tea party.
And there's nothing more priceless than getting the opportunity to play the old course.